In 1909, hidden deep within the mountains of Montana, a remote railroad town promised ordinary workers something extraordinary. If they worked hard enough and waited patiently, success would eventually come. Hundreds of families arrived believing that every day of honest labor was building a brighter future. But as the years passed, the trains slowed, the jobs disappeared, and the town itself slowly faded into silence. Today, its abandoned buildings still stand beneath the mountain sky, reminding visitors of one timeless truth. Hard work and patience may not save every town, but they can forever change the life of the person who refuses to give up. In the summer of 1909, the rugged mountains of western Montana echoed with the whistles of steam locomotives. Railroads stretched farther across America than ever before, connecting distant communities and fueling the nation's rapid expansion. Hidden between towering pine forests lay a small settlement called Eagle Ridge, a railroad maintenance town built to keep freight trains moving through the mountains. Among the newest arrivals was a 28-year-old mechanic named Thomas Walker. Thomas had grown up in a poor family near Omaha, Nebraska. His father died when he was only 15, forcing him to leave school and work long hours repairing farm equipment. Life had never been easy. Still, his mother repeated one lesson throughout his childhood. Hard work and patience may walk slowly, she often said, but they never lose their way. Thomas carried those words wherever he went. Every morning before sunrise, he repaired locomotives, replaced damaged wheels, inspected brakes, and worked beneath clouds of coal smoke that covered his clothes with black dust. The work demanded strength, precision, and endless determination. The winters were brutal. Snow buried the railroad tracks, freezing winds swept through the valley. Sometimes trains were trapped for days. Many workers quit after only a few months. Thomas stayed. He believed every difficult day was preparing him for something greater. By 1912, Eagle Ridge had grown into a busy railroad community. A school welcomed children each morning. New stores opened beside the station. Hotels served travelers crossing the Rocky Mountains. Every passing train seemed to promise another opportunity. Yet promotions came slowly. Younger workers sometimes advanced ahead of Thomas because they knew influential managers. Friends encouraged him to leave. There are easier jobs in Seattle, one coworker told him. Another suggested moving to California. Thomas simply smiled. If I keep improving, he answered, my time will come. Instead of complaining, he studied engineering books during the evenings. He learned how steam engines worked. He practiced reading technical blueprints. Older engineers noticed his curiosity and quietly began teaching him skills that few mechanics possessed. Years passed. In 1915, one of Eagle Ridge's chief engineers unexpectedly retired. Several experienced workers applied for the position. Thomas did too. Most people doubted he had any chance. He had no wealthy family, no powerful connections, only years of quiet, consistent effort. To everyone's surprise, the railroad company selected Thomas. Not because he talked the most, not because he knew the right people, but because every supervisor trusted the quality of his work. For the first time in his life, Thomas felt that patience had finally been rewarded. As chief engineer, he introduced safer maintenance procedures, organized better inspections, and trained yoga mechanics with the same kindness older workers had once shown him. The town prospered, families settled permanently. Children who had once watched trains from the station platform grew into railroad workers themselves. Everything seemed secure. Then, history changed. By the early 1920s, automobiles became increasingly common across America. New highways expanded rapidly. Some railroad routes lost importance as transportation evolved. Freight traffic through Eagle Ridge slowly declined. Fewer trains arrived. Businesses earned less money. Several families moved away. Thomas watched with quiet concern as familiar faces disappeared one by one. By the late 1920s, the railroad company announced that maintenance operations would relocate to a larger facility closer to the main rail junction. The decision shocked the community. Within months, shops closed, the school emptied, the station fell silent. Workers packed their belongings onto the final trains leaving town. Thomas remained until the very end. On his last evening, he stood alone beside the quiet tracks where he had spent nearly 20 years of his life. The mountains looked exactly the same. The forests remained unchanged. Only the people had disappeared. A young reporter visiting the abandoned settlement asked him, "Do you regret staying here so long?" Thomas looked across the empty station before answering, "Not for a single day." The reporter seemed surprised. "But the town failed." Thomas smiled gently. "No, the town ended. My work didn't." He explained that the railroad had given him more than a paycheck. It had taught discipline, patience, skill, integrity. Those lessons followed him wherever he went. Buildings could be abandoned, businesses could close, entire towns could disappear, but character traveled with a person forever. After leaving Eagle Ridge, Thomas became one of Montana's most respected railway consultants. Younger engineers sought his advice, companies trusted his judgment, communities benefited from the safety systems he designed. His success did not happen overnight. It grew quietly through years of patient effort that no one had noticed. Today, only scattered foundations, resting railroad tracks, and weathered wooden buildings remain where Eagle Ridge once stood. Travelers who discover the forgotten town often wonder why it disappeared. Some blame changing transportation, others blame economics. But those silent ruins tell another story. They remind us that the future does not always preserve the places where we work, yet it always remembers the people who refuse to give up. History has buried countless towns beneath forests, deserts, and mountains, but it has never buried the value of honest work. Because while abandoned places may fade with time, the patience, discipline, and perseverance built there can shape a lifetime. And beneath the quiet Montana mountains, the forgotten remains of Eagle Ridge still whisper the same timeless truth.